What if the one thing we rely on most, our intelligence, is actually the very thing locking us out of life's deeper meanings? It's a wild thought, isn't it? Today, we're going to dig into a totally different kind of intelligence, one that just might be the key we've been missing. So let's get into it and see if we can find a new way to look at our own minds.
I mean, think about it. We use our intellect for literally everything, right? To figure things out, to analyze, to succeed. But could that same incredible tool, when it's the only one in our toolbox, also be building a cage around us? A cage that actually stops us from seeing the world as it really is? All right, so first up, let's talk about what I like to call the intelligence trap. We're going to explore the hidden limits of our own brilliant minds. Because, sometimes the best way to figure out what works is to get really clear on what doesn't. This really lays it all out, doesn't it? On one hand, our intellect is an absolute superstar. It analyzes, it solves, it puts things in neat little boxes, fantastic for the physical world. But then you flip the coin. Look at where it just falls flat. It can't really grasp deep meaning. It fights surrender tooth and nail, and it has a really tough time seeing the big interconnected picture. It's an amazing tool, for sure, but it is not the only tool.
And this, right here, is a total game changer. What this is saying is that the deeper truths of life aren't hidden from us because we don't have enough data or information. No, they might be hidden because our internal state, our relentless need to control, to dominate, to already have the answer, is actually filtering our reality. It's kind of like being so obsessed with the map of a forest that you completely miss the breathtaking trees standing right in front of you.
So, if our brain power isn't the master key, then what is? Let's explore this other way of knowing, this forgotten key that our modern world is pretty much devalued and pushed to the side. And here it is. It's often called the feminine principle. Now, it is so important to get this straight. This has absolutely nothing to do with gender. It's a way of knowing that's available to every single one of us. It's all about being receptive, about a quiet trust, what the Dharmic traditions call shraddha. Instead of wrestling with reality to force out an answer, it's about creating the inner quiet for reality to just reveal itself. And what happens when we lose this balance? When everything is about pushing and controlling, well, the consequences are pretty serious. Our relationships start to feel like transactions. That deep sense of meaning in life just sort of fades away. And our way of seeing the world can become incredibly rigid. We get completely hung up on how things look on the surface, and we lose touch with their actual depth. This quote just nails it. Our intelligence can understand the facts, right? It can break down the components of something, but it's receptivity that reveals its truth. It's the difference between reading the sheet music and actually being moved to tears by the song. Now, this isn't some new age idea, not at all. In fact, you can see these principles woven into ancient stories that have been around for centuries, almost like roadmaps for the human soul. Let's look at a couple of really powerful examples. Let's take the story of the giant serpent, Kaliya. His ego was so huge, so toxic, his venom was poisoning an entire river, killing everything. So a higher power, Krishna, shows up. But here's the key part. He doesn't come to destroy Kaliya, he comes to subdue him. The real turning point, though, is when Kaliya's wives come forward. They don't fight back. They approach with humility, with surrender. They embody that receptive principle, and it's their appeal, not more force, that opens the door to mercy and brings the river back to life. And we see this exact same idea in the dynamic between Shiva and Shakti. Think of it like a choreographer and a dancer. Shiva is the choreographer, pure, still awareness. He's got the vision, but without a dancer, it's just an inert idea. Shakti is the dancer, raw, creative, powerful energy. She can move, but without the choreographer's vision, it's just chaotic, random motion. Real wisdom, real creation, well, that only happens when they come together. It's the perfect integration of awareness and energy. Okay, so we've seen this in myths, which is cool. But what about the real world? It's one thing to talk about gods and epic serpents, but does this actually hold up when the rubber meets the road? Let's check out some real people who lived this principle. Okay, now this is what I find absolutely mind-blowing. Look at the people on this list, the Bhakti saints. Some of the most profound voices in human history weren't kings or scholars with a dozen degrees. Look at this. Kabir was a weaver. Sant Ravidas, a leather worker. These were ordinary people who discovered extraordinary wisdom not through formal education, but through direct experience, deep trust, and a powerful sense of devotion and receptivity.
And that leads us to a massive conclusion. It seems that accessing this deeper reality has nothing to do with your resume or your social status. It's not about what you have, it's about who you are. It can emerge in anyone, anywhere, who's willing to loosen the ego's death grip and cultivate an inner state of clarity and openness, a state that's known as sattva.
So, what on earth does all this mean for us? Right here, right now. We've talked about the intelligence trap, the power of being receptive. We've seen it in stories and in real lives. So how do we actually, apply this?
Well, it starts by challenging one of the biggest assumptions our culture runs on, the idea that progress is always about getting more. More information, more data, more facts piled on top of each other. But what if that's only half the story?
Because the real breakthrough, it doesn't always come from knowing more. It comes from learning to know differently. It's that subtle shift from trying to conquer a problem with your intellect to just allowing a solution to arrive in a moment of quiet. It's about changing the how of our knowing, not just the what.
And that brings us right here to this final, crucial idea. Our powerful intelligence doesn't have to be a cage. It can be this incredible, liberating force. But only when it's in balance. Only when our analytical muscle is aligned with faith, with inner clarity, and with the deep, quiet wisdom of receptivity. So, the question I'll leave you with is this. Are we brave enough to put down the key we've always used and trust that there's another door just waiting to be opened?